Hey, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm here with Jesse.
Hey, guys.
And we're very, very happy to be here in this other edition of Community Spotlight. Today, we have 4 amazing teams presenting. Before we start with the presentations, I wanted to remind you that the Arweave core team is hiring right now. We're looking for a chief of staff, and we're also looking for a technical ecosystem coordinator. So if you are interested in the positions, or if you know anyone that would be interested in positions, do let us know. Now, let's get started with the very first one. Song, why don't you come up to the stage? Song is going to be talking us through Skye.Kiwi. And Skye.Kiwi is a decentralized secret sharing protocol. So Song, the floor is all yours.
I think you're muted, Song.
Yeah, still muted.
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you, and we can see the screen.
Okay. And okay, here we go. Okay, so we are, the first thing we are building is the Skye.Kiwi protocol, which is a very generic and efficient secret sharing protocol. We have been building it since 6 months ago. But we think we can do a bit more than that. So we spent about 2 or 3 months and designed a blockchain network to handle secret smart contract execution with the basis building up from the Skye.Kiwi protocol. So yeah, so Skye.Kiwi conceals smart contract execution on blockchain. So for now, transparency on blockchain is started turning from a feature to a bug. For DEX, there are tons of front-running issues, sandwich attack, and lots of things is not possible yet for the lack of privacy on blockchain. So at the end of the day, we don't want to pick a side. We think we should be able to deliver both the privacy and programmability. So we have the Skye.Kiwi network, which is based on Substrate. It's a network that takes the best from both sides by leveraging a innovative architecture that made possible by Arweave. The network architecture is that a Substrate-based POS blockchain is going to be the backbone of the network. It's going to have 2 layers, a public layer to receive public smart contract calls or relay call from other blockchains. Then for transactions that involve dealing with secrets, they're going to be relayed to a second layer, like a shadow chain composed of the TE nodes. For those who don't know too much of TEs, they are specialized hardware that's gaining popularity that use a portion of the CPU to kind of form an execution enclave to ensure data and code integrity. And inside the enclave, the Skye.Kiwi protocol will be the base layer, which is connected to the Arweave network to decrypt the required parameters and interact with the secret state. Upon the protocol layer, there is the lazy execution engine, which is very similar to what SmartWave has been doing for state transition. So now I want to talk about some features we have, because with the separation structure of the blockchain consensus and the secret state consensus, there essentially won't be any block or gas limit per execution. And then the lazy execution, like the SmartWave, is pretty flexible and able to handle any kind of file-based secrets, like the JSON file, even SQLite. And people can deploy basically anything they want to run on a cloud function to deploy as a smart contract. Privacy is opt-in. That means you can conceal the content on demand, like call parameters, contract state, or blockchain events. And then the last one, slightly more technical, is that the ARC used by Fala network or secret network has key keepers that need to distribute cryptographic keys to miners for execution. And on Skye.Kiwi network, we don't have to do so. It's a very rare scenario when we can achieve both decentralization and scalability at the same time. For the public layer, we basically inherit lots of the functionality from Substrate, like forecast upgrade, governance structure, the interoperability to connect to a larger ecosystem. For end users, we use the same protocol, the Skye.Kiwi protocol, to transfer information from the user's end machine to the blockchain nodes and between blockchain nodes. So the economic mechanism is pretty straightforward. The developer is going to develop and grow the community onto the blockchain. And the end user, they're going to either contribute to the secret while paying gas fee or service the service simply without recording any information on chain. The blockchain will pay this kind of collections of both the developers and end user through an abstract layer of a DAO. So basically, the DAO can implement their own policy of how they want to distribute the profits from the developer to their end user. For use cases, you basically can do anything you want to do with a cloud function on Skye.Kiwi. We're gonna highlight two of them. The first one is called Kiwi Sign. It's a decentralized contract signature platform. The cost is really close to zero. You spend less than 2 cents per contract sign with many users as possible. And it's going to bring this native Web3 way of binding real-world binding smart legally contract to the blockchain scene. And the last thing for all is that it's currently powered by 13 lines of Solidity smart contract, and we don't require any of the recipient's information on chain. It's all been done through cryptographic. And the last thing we want to talk about is Kiwi Pay, which essentially we are able to process fiat payment on chain. So how this works is very simple. The user posts the payload encrypted through the same protocol with the card information, some expiration date if they want the blockchain node to store that, and some authorization of which amount can be spent through the smart contract. Then whenever the user is trying to pay someone, say a merchant on another blockchain, the other smart contract is going to call a public smart contract on Skye.Kiwi for payment authorization and relay the user signature to the enclave, which is going to proceed with the bank APIs. And when fetch the result, it's going to populate all the way up back to the user and confirm that user had already paid for that. And that should be it.
Thank you very much, Song. I got a couple of questions for you, if you don't mind. Kiwi Pay and Kiwi Sign, are they up and running? Like, what of this is already working?
So essentially, Kiwi Sign is very close to launching because we don't need a blockchain to do this. It's powered simply by the secret sharing protocol. But for Kiwi Pay, that's going to possibly in a year when we build out a full blockchain.
Got it. That's interesting. What are some differences to, I don't know, others working in similar problems in the space? So like secret network or FADA?
I'm going to go to this slide. So I guess the biggest difference there is first, we use the lazy execution method, just like Arweave. So we don't need to do the Merkle tree and won't be limited by the simple key value data storage. Instead, we can use any file-based system to process with that. And it's a much easier process for developer to build and very easy for us to implement as well. The second one is as I mentioned, the separation of the keeper nodes and miner nodes. We don't need those as well, which is creating a semi-centralized components for both Fala and secret network. It's all been done through cryptographic for us.
Thank you. Yeah. All right. Interesting. And last, and obviously the most crucial one, where does the name Skye.Kiwi come from?
It's a domain name I had since high school, and I just think it sounds really cute. Downside of that is because it's a rare TLD. The Kiwi name is for New Zealand, and the lots of mail server just bounce over emails.
Nice, interesting. Well, thank you very much for the presentation. Really appreciate it. And if you want to learn more about Skye.Kiwi, check out the booth after the presentations are over in the coffee and mingle area. Thanks, Song.
Thanks, Song.
Thank you.
Okay, and I'll just make sure you get spotlighted here. And then next up, we have Artem. And he's going to be presenting Airport, which is a distributed relational database that's built on the Arweave protocol. So Artem, I'm going to get you spotlighted here. And there you go. Take it away. I think you're muted, Artem.
Hi.
Hey. Perfect.
Let me share my screen if I'm not.
Yep.
So I'm here to present my project, Airport. It's a decentralized relational database on top of Arweave. So a number of years back, I wrote a family organizer application, and I quickly realized that I would have to maintain a centralized server where families would have to keep their data, and that wasn't acceptable to me because you don't want a family to have to give up their data. So I started writing Airport shortly after that, and it kept on evolving and evolving until I got to this key feature that it has, which is being able to use it across multiple applications. And at that point, I knew I had something, and I really got into it. So why have a database network framework for writing decentralized applications? Well, first of all, many developers out there are familiar with relational databases. I would say the bulk of the developers out there are used to working with these kind of databases. So that's the reason I got started. I basically started on what I already knew. And it's all about sharing user data. And the key feature of it, again, is the fact that multiple applications can use the same exact data of a user. And another cool thing about it is that when you write a new application, you no longer have to go out there and gather a bunch of data for it to be useful. You can use already existing data in that database. And it also allows for these hybrid centralized/decentralized applications because you can keep the user's data decentralized while having some other publicly accessible data, at least temporarily indexed in centralized servers, and then eventually be transitioned off to Arweave storage. Or always be in Arweave storage, but temporarily for high performance reasons be on centrally indexed servers. So how do I do it? It's basically through virtual repositories. A virtual repository is a block of data that lives in a relational database. And that's how I got it working. And the databases themselves run right on mobile phones, or they can run anywhere really, but they can run on mobile phones, which means that they can work offline. So that's that. So for example, you can have two users with their phones. Each one has an Airport database and multiple applications. And some of these applications provide schemas that are installed into the Airport database. And repositories live in those schemas and can span multiple applications. I mean, multiple schemas across multiple applications. Or applications can also just be built on top of existing data without providing any schemas. Sharing is accomplished via Arweave. Again, I want to stress that users are in control of their data. So it's not applications that are in control of the data. Data lives on the device in the Airport database and belongs to the user, not to the applications. Applications, however, are in control of sharing schemas with other applications, and they can say that deny certain apps access if they think that they're bad actors and they're trying to steal their revenue. And ultimately, this promotes development of small applications that are kind of like working with each other, where one independent developer, writes a very specialized application, another one writes another one that works with the first one. Neither one of them have to develop this huge suite of functionality. You can just have small apps working in concert with each other. So for the economics, there's really three parties. There's the app users, which want to keep their data private. They also want to remove data duplication across multiple applications. And they may be interested in profit sharing from this application. There are application creators that want the profits from the applications, and they really want to focus on developing their applications and not worry about what is, I think, for most developers still out there, still kind of a black box. What is decentralized development? How does it work? How do I work with this framework? They just want to have some tools that they're familiar with and work with them. And our Airport, of course, wants to attract application developers to the platform. So how I think this can be eventually monetized is through a decentralized advertisement engine. So advertisement by itself isn't really a bad thing. It's, it has been said that advertisement is an engine of progress. And as long as the data is private and users may be willing to see the ads, especially if they get some profits from the advertisement revenue. Of course, they can always opt out and pay for usage. Oops. And ultimately, being a developer, I wrote this with focus on developer productivity. So this framework is something that any enterprise developer out of the millions of enterprise developers in the world can pick up and just be right at home, and gives you even better tools than what they're used to. So that's what I got.
Perfect. Thanks, Artem. That was really cool. I'm wondering, at what stage of development is Airport in currently?
I still got a lot of development to go. I'm hoping to be done with the core by maybe the end of the year and maybe a little bit later. So there's still a lot of work to go. It's nowhere near a working prototype yet.
Okay. And are you looking for team members as well?
I am, yeah, but I'm also looking for, people that can either do just open source on their own, or if I can get some support and get some grants, that would be even better.
Okay, cool. Well, I mean, you got the booth outside, so if anyone is interested in talking to Artem more, yeah, feel free to look for him at the booth there. Thanks, Artem. That was really cool.
Thanks, Artem. Next up, I have the pleasure of introducing our very own Sophie. Sophie, you want to make your way to the podium here? Yes, there we go. Besides being an incredibly talented designer and a great person to work with, Sophie is working on something that a lot of people in the community have been really clamoring for. So basically a discovery platform for things being built on Arweave. So Sophie, why don't you tell us about what ArVerse is and how people can work with you?
Okay, sure. Thanks for the intro, Seb. So hopefully you can all see my screen. Okay, yeah, so I'm Sophie and I'm here to present ArVerse.
We cannot see your screen, actually. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. It would help if I press the share button.
Yeah, most of the time that helps.
And now?
Yeah, now we can see it.
Good.
Okay, wait, I'll just get rid of this annoying thing that. Oh, wait. Okay, cool. So, yeah, I'm Sophie and I'm here to present ArVerse. So what is ArVerse? ArVerse is a discovery platform for the Arweave ecosystem. So it's quite simple, really. As I'm sure you're all aware, there's lots of awesome projects and platforms and tools within the Arweave ecosystem. And it's developing and growing at such a rate now that it's becoming increasingly difficult to keep up with all this activity. Yeah, and find it in one place. So if, like me, you spend a lot of time crawling through Discord, trying to find a message from 3 months ago to find a platform or something, yeah, ArVerse is here to try and reduce that time that you have to spend doing that. So yeah, that's basically what it is. And I also want to integrate a profit sharing community into ArVerse because I think it has some really nice sort of reward mechanisms around rewarding contributions to the ecosystem. And I guess like the mechanism design of how the profit sharing token would accrue value is simply that you would pay in the profit sharing token to promote your project on the homepage of ArVerse. So I'm still ironing out the finer details, but that's essentially how I envision it working. And already a few people have messaged me on Discord and want to be featured. So I think this is a cool start. So how it works. I want to keep ArVerse as decentralized as possible, meaning that anybody can submit a DApp to ArVerse. And I think that brings an interesting predicament with decentralization is how do we, I guess, incentivize that people are providing accurate and reliable information opposed to de-incentivizing so-called bad actors who want to manipulate a system for their own gain. So based off what exists in the community so far, the tools and integrations, I sort of propose two methods. So the first one would be you have a minimum score of 75% on ArVerify, and then you can submit a DApp. If you don't have that, then you're required to stake a small amount of tokens. And what that's saying is I'm so confident that this information that I'm providing is reliable, is accurate, and is in good faith that I'm willing to back that with some tokens. And then once you've made the submission, I envision around maybe 5 community members that also have a high verify score will give it a thumbs up and say, yeah, this is accurate. And then the tokens that you staked, you will get these back. And on top of that, you will also get an ArVerse PST token bonus. And if you didn't stake tokens because you have a high verification score, you still get a bonus. So ultimately, everybody's being rewarded for submitting reliable and trustworthy information to the platform. And if it turns out that you made a submission that is in bad faith and proves to be false or inaccurate, then the tokens that you staked would go back into the community, essentially. So that's sort of the basic mechanism of how interacting with the platform would work. Features, I won't go too much into this because I have quite an extensive wireframe and prototype. So I would recommend that if you want to dive deeper into like every component, I will post a link to the full deck in the GatherTown chat, or you can talk to me about it later. Yeah, and you can check that out in more detail. But pretty much what you see, I think, is what you would expect on a platform of this format. So just quickly running through some of the slides. This would be the sort of main page where you can discover dApps. You can filter by category, popularity, and this kind of thing. This would be the profile page. And I think for me, this is where it gets quite exciting because the possibility and the value that this can bring for not only, let's say, a browser of this information, but also as a developer, I think it can have some really neat statistics on this page. And the boxes that you see, I imagine being sort of like small iframe boxes. And you just put a contract address into the submission page, and then it pulls all of this information in. So yeah, I think that's really, I think it can get really interesting what you can integrate into this page. Yep, submission page, again, quite straightforward, simple, self-explanatory. And I think to the most important part possibly of this presentation, yeah, team. So essentially, it's just me right now. If you don't already know me from the community, I have been working on the Arweave core team for around 2.5 years now, doing mostly community-facing roles. And although I have some front-end knowledge, this platform is just too big for me to take on by myself. So I'm looking for technical co-founders. So if you have front-end or back-end skills, then, and you like what you hear and what you see, then please do give me a shout, come and speak to me at the booth. Yeah, and I'm really excited to get the ball rolling with this because, yeah, right now it's just a nice looking wireframe, but yeah, I look forward to bringing it to life. So yeah, I hope that explains everything for ArVerse, and thank you very much for listening and viewing.
Thanks, Sophie. That's amazing. I really like the mechanism that you have there. I think it's pretty powerful. And I think a lot of people are not only waiting for this, but also going to be very, very interested in participating as contributors and hopefully also as team members. One thing that I really liked, and this goes to show how meticulous you are, is in the slide when you had an example, I think it was Skye, the profile.
Oh, yeah.
I like how you had, if you guys didn't notice that, on the right it says profile page, all statistics are examples and are not accurate. I really like the disclaimer there. Very, very detail oriented.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks a lot, Sophie.
Yeah, no, yeah, thanks for having me, and yeah, hopefully speak to you in the booth later.
Sure. Thanks.
Okay, perfect. And then for the last presenter of the day, before we go to the coffee and mingle area, we're going to have Vicky Val from Codadot, who's going to be presenting PermaFrost, which is an overlay for NFT galleries to upload their NFT metadata on Arweave. And then Victor, you could tell us a little bit more about that. You're spotlighted now.
Hey, welcome. Let me share the screen. Yeah, cool. So welcome. Thanks for the intro. Okay, I'm Vicky from the Codadot team, and I would like to present the PermaFrost. It's a parent storage for NFT metadata. And yeah, who we are? We are Codadot co-founders. And what's Codadot? It's an NFT explorer based on the Kusama network. And we are actually using IPFS and Arweave for storing NFT metadata. So if you want to create your NFT for a couple of cents, head over to the nft.xyz, and we would be very happy to hear about you. And what's actually the problem with the NFT metadata on IPFS? As Sam from Arweave mentioned, IPFS is address layer, not the storage layer. So actually, your metadata can disappear within the 2 years, especially if you are using service such as Pinata or something else. And also, if the NFT is not so popular, it takes a lot time to load it. And yeah, most of the NFT metadata, for example, Pudgy Penguins, which are mostly popular right now, are centralized. So what's the point then? And actually, the third biggest thing is that there is no such thing as simple metadata retrieval. So you cannot simply search metadata with, you can simply search NFTs which has, I don't know, black background or something like that. It's impossible task. We're actually fighting with that. It's still ongoing issue in our repository. So that's why we created PermaFrost as a Arweave-based Express app, which allows developers to experience the best of the Arweave without learning how to do Arweave, because in general Arweave is a bit of a hard to learn, and we are focusing on high developer experience, and we took inspiration from IPFS to Arweave, which is super simple to use, and we love it. And also, we would like to build a profit sharing community on top of it. So every person who will run PermaFrost will get some bonus in form of profit sharing tokens. And as you see, we have for now like four routes which you can use. First one is store, which stores your NFT image plus metadata, and also simple retrieval, which is like the class ID as, for example, contract ID and the token ID, and you will instantly get the metadata in the OpenC format. And also there are two more. For example, search is the simple search based on the Arweave GraphQL. And the best thing is that you don't need to learn GraphQL to use it. So it should be really simple. And the copyright should give you the copyright data to like who owns the metadata in general. So how does it look like? As you can see on the image left, we use simple REST API. And yeah, you fill some forms like avatar, which is the image, the name, description, attributes, and also you have to specify the collection, like the contract address and the token ID, which is instance. And as a result of the query, you get Arweave ID, which is the transaction ID. And then on the image right, you can see that how you actually query the whole NFT metadata. So you just specify again the contract address and the token ID, and you will get exactly in the OpenC's metadata format your NFT metadata. And yeah, as I mentioned before, we would like to build a profit sharing community, and there are like 3 operations with every gateway or node to do. It's the read, store, and search. Usually, as we learned, the reads are the heaviest operation for the node, so it should be incentivized. And also the store, actually someone has to pay for the storing, so it would be nice to have some money back. And yeah, we have community incentivized gateway, so everybody who will run the PermaFrost node will get some tokens as a fee from the store fee bonus, and also they get some profit sharing tokens as a bonus, which will be distributed on daily basis, on perpetual basis. And what are the next steps? We would like to support some of the transactions up to $500, and we are looking forward to get some Arweave storage grants And as the community also requested, we would like to use the upload NFT metadata folders, which would be super nice to have, for example, for mass mints. So when the artist wants to mint like 100 NFTs on the one go, it would be super simple. And yeah, also you can pay with anything, because we would like to use the Verto, which has also the Ethereum bridge, as I remember correctly. So you can pay for the service with another both profit sharing token or actually ETH to store your metadata. And yeah, using Arweave is super fast, super nice, super easy to use when you have some thin layer storage, thin layers such as PermaFrost. And if you would like to join, we are looking forward, and we would like to see you in our code. And we are looking for the Vue.js developer and also the TypeScript developer, one for frontend on Codadot, and second for backend, like the PermaFrost, which would be used on this. So yeah. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter. It's @Codadot, and see you in the booth.
Thanks, Victor. Cool. It's cool that you guys are using both IPFS and Arweave, because I know a lot of people on the outside, they see us as competitors, but really it's two different things.
Yeah.
So it's cool that you're able to utilize both things. It looks like you guys are using like Arweave in a really like intimate way, like you're tied into Verto and everything. Like how long have you and your team been in the community for?
It's a hard question. But yeah, we are around for like 2 months or so. We actually been on the third or second Open Web Foundry before, as we integrated the IPFS to Arweave into the Codadot. And yeah, that's
Okay.
then we got an idea to actually reuse the tags and Arweave in the more in the better way.
Right. So is this almost like an iteration on top of what you guys were building in the last Foundry?
Could be.
Okay. Great. And how far in development is the PermaFrost right now?
As you see the images, we have working pin and metadata retrieval. I'm using the texture AI local, and yeah, in a couple of days I would like to make like V0 version live, so users can use it freely, and we would like to get some feedback, which would be really nice.
Okay, great. Yeah. The community can come visit you after at about right now, and they can find you at your booth and give you guys some feedback. Yeah, thanks for the presentation. That was really great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, and thank you very much all for joining us today. Again, amazing projects that you can check outside in the Coffee and Mingle area. And there's, as you can see, there's amazing opportunities all across the Arweave ecosystem at the core Arweave core team, but also in numerous projects that are building. So make sure to be active in our developer Discord and reach out to those opportunities. All right, well, I'll see you all in the Coffee and Mingle area. Thank you very much.